It was amazing. They were going out of their way to find things to ask about that were not the elephant in the room.
So, but do you think it was all coordinated in advance? The fact that nobody would ask, I mean, were there certain people I'm thinking
they pick on the certain analysts, right? That, like, who's going to get to ask questions, ones that they're used to talking to. I don't think they're necessarily vetting them ahead of time, but I think certainly the friendlier the ones are the ones that sort of make the cut. Only about 8 analysts got to ask questions, which is about what they normally do on these calls. They also made it clear at the top of the call, look, we're not going to take any questions about the harassment allegations.
So you think everyone just thought if they didn't, you didn't think anyone thought that they'd get anything? Nobody wanted to. What about even, was there, and I didn't listen to the whole thing, I saw parts of the transcript. Was there any parts where people even hinted? No hint at all? Zero?
Literally zero. But, just because I say that you can't ask doesn't mean you can't ask. Just for body language, just for like the tone of annoyance in their voice, it would be helpful to hear for investors.
There were bouts of, great quarter, nice job. Right?
Yeah.
So.
I also think it's worth noting that there are plenty of questions to ask about that are related to the issues of the pending litigation. I mean, and the investigation to sexual harassment. I mean, such as the fact that Les Moonves doesn't have an official successor. I mean, we could talk about the fact that Joe Aiello, his COO, is the natural successor, but there is no written succession plan for CBS. So there are plenty of analysts who've written notes talking about the fact that this is an issue, talking about the fact that this is an overhang on the stock, and it's unclear what's going to happen next. But there, would have been very reasonable to say, without commenting on the investigation, can you just tell us what your succession plan is for the company should there be a change in management? So I think there were some ways that you could have gotten at the question without actually asking the question, but no one even got close to it.
It's relevant. Those are business issues. If you were.
But that's what I mean. The quarter, you can talk about the quarter all you want, but does it matter at all for the stock?
Because we're looking at the forward.
This is a much bigger issue. That's this overhang and what's
the
going to
overhang
happen.
is big. The stock has taken a dip, certainly on these revelations. Yes, on these revelations. And if you're the analyst, I think we're asking a lot of the analysts, but at the same time, if they're sort of representing their clients and the investor community, ultimately, these are relevant questions.
Well, I would argue they are much more relevant than anything sticking around this quarter. This quarter is in the books. It's over. You're done. And it does not dictate the future of the company. I mean, if you're really digging in as an investor and you want to know what's happening, nothing that they said yesterday matters all that much.
True, but the broader context here, though, is that, for whatever leverage the analysts have in these things, which isn't very much, the board, they're the ones who actually control the situation.
Which maybe
they're taking steps, certainly. They've hired law firms to investigate, but the fact that they haven't indicated as much about the succession plan and what could happen. This is signaling
by CBS saying we want this to continue as business as usual, but this is anything but business as usual because of these huge issues, not only with this, but also with the Redstones.
Okay, so Keach, what are the Redstones saying? As this is going, are they listening into this call? Is Sherry on this phone call? Is Sumner involved? So I want to know. I want to know what's going on here in the soap opera that is.
Well, Sherry's on the board, right?
Right.
So, and there are at least three members of the board were aligned with National Amusements, the Redstone family holding company. And so, listen, we had reported over the weekend, Ed too, that there were people who thought that Les Moonves should possibly step aside pending this investigation. And that was not ultimately what happened, but you can tell that there is not a total agreement among the board about what should happen.